Lucas live on tonight's webcast. We're talking about Senate Bill 1381. We are talking about the Idaho Freedom Index, how to use it if you're a liberal. You don't want your liberal friends to miss this. And we also are going to talk about government overreach. How exactly? Well, I'll tell you about what's going on in Grand Teton National Park. But you'd enjoy it. It's Friday. We'll discuss. It's all coming up on Steph Lucas Live. Welcome back. All right, let's get started here. First thing I thought we could talk about Senate Bill 1381. This bill was known, because it isn't going to be a law, was known as the Coronavirus Pause Act. What the bill would have done is place a one-year ban on businesses requiring a COVID-19 vaccine for employment. This bill that came out of the Senate was vetoed this last week by Governor Brad Little. That act hit national news. What did the Senate do? Well, they do have the power to override that veto. However, they chose not to. And now there is no Coronavirus Pause Act. Governor Brad Little said the reason he vetoed the bill is that he felt it was government overreach into private businesses. However, if you take a deeper dive, a lot of people, constitutional conservatives I've spoken to, said it's more about individual rights. That's the first role of government, really, is to protect individual rights, which is what, in theory, the Coronavirus Pause Act would have done. I wonder about this. Is this checks and balances, or is this asking your governor for permission? That's a lot of concerns that people have about this bill. But Senate Bill 1381 is now not overridden, so not going to be a law. And again, the fundamentals of the bill are private business versus individual rights. Speaking of that, it makes one wonder. These are one of these things I think you have to look out for in the primaries coming up. You might have a lot of senators telling you they voted to prevent businesses from requiring COVID-19 vaccines. Well, that's kind of a half truth, because they could have overridden the bill, but they didn't. So you're gonna have to take some of your senators to task on that if they're running for re-election. I tell you, during election season, a lot of what you get are going to be flyers and mailers with a lot of little bits and pieces of the whole story. That's kind of how the game is played. Often it feels like it has to be a full-time job for you to research candidates, right? Well, that's where the Idaho Freedom Foundation comes in. They research all of the politicians in Idaho full-time so you can get a clear picture of where your legislators are at. And we are going to discuss that coming up. But in the meantime, we want to go over the Idaho Freedom Foundation's first round of Marxist Madness. It's a big deal. Let's talk about it. Marxist Madness. Right, it's not March Madness. Who's the biggest statist in the Idaho Capitol? There's the brackets for round one. If you want to get in on the action, you just go download this bad boy, Idaho Freedom Action website or Idaho Freedom Foundation, and you can fill it out. But let's talk about some of our big winners here in the first round. So what we have is a tie, actually. 92% Scott Bedke. Way to go, Scott Bedke. 92% of responses think you are the biggest statist at the Capitol, tied with a senator, Patty Ann Lodge, at 92%. By the way, congratulations on your retirement, Patty Ann Lodge. So there you go. Big win for statism. Way to represent, guys. Like I said, you want to get in on the action, you just go download that Idaho Freedom Action. So where else are we at as far as the legislative session in this week? Well, we're going to talk about, let's get back to the Idaho Freedom Index. That's Wayne and Dustin last night, halftime report. Go check that out. They did the big reveal, of the 2022 Idaho Freedom Index scores. We're all very, very excited. We're going to bring those up momentarily. in the meantime, I want to talk to you a little bit about how to use Idaho Freedom Foundation Index if you are a liberal. I know. How's that even work? Are they even watching this show? Well, maybe they would want to. Brought up earlier that the Idaho Freedom Foundation does pretty much a lot of the work for you by looking at legislators, senators, figuring out what their scores are. And the Idaho Freedom Foundation, again, says that the senators and representatives score themselves. The Idaho Freedom Foundation has some key metrics that they go over they use to go over each bill with. And of course, you can find this on the Idaho Freedom Foundation page. It's even free to download. It's about 22 pages. It's invaluable for you. But let's talk about, Wayne and Dustin last night talked about how we look at scoring bills and how legislators give themselves these scores, right? Now, the Idaho Freedom Foundation takes a lot of flack, of course, from liberals. They get mad all the time at the Idaho Freedom Foundation. They go on the Idaho Freedom Foundation Twitter account, Wayne's account. They're very angry. They're upset. I hate you. I hate everything you do. You're evil, etc., etc. They're used to it by now, right? You evil far right-wing conservatives. Yeah, okay. So you don't like the Idaho Freedom Foundation. Here's the thing, though. If you hate conservative legislators so bad, all you have to do to use the Freedom Index if you are a liberal is just go look at the lowest scoring legislators on the list and go support them. You see? In other words, if you're a Democrat and you hate the IFF with a passion, you can still use the Freedom Index. It's invaluable. Let's bring up some examples here. Now, let's say you're a liberal, all right? Let's say, we're going to bring this up in a minute here. Let's say that you are a liberal and you are so unoriginal. You've gone and you've started your own group whose sole role is to fight the Idaho Freedom Foundation because you have no other purpose in life. Now, first of all, I think Idaho Freedom Foundation is happy that they give you purpose and meaning, but of course, consider therapy. If we at the IFF are your whole reason for existing, clearly you have some self-esteem issues. So let's say you're that liberal. You could still use the Freedom Index. So you go to the Idaho Freedom Index scorecard for these legislators. You check your legislator's score. Now, let's say the score is pretty lame by conservative standards. An F, as we have two senators here, right? Pretty lame by conservative standards. Let's say you have, Senator Kevin Cook there, District 30. His score is 51% on the Idaho Freedom Index. This may surprise you, as Senator Kevin Cook identifies as a Republican. He's still got an F on the Idaho Freedom Foundation score. Now, if you are liberal, the Idaho Freedom Foundation, by allowing Kevin Cook to score himself by these metrics, they just saved you a whole lot of trouble in researching who Kevin Cook is. You, as a liberal, can vote for Kevin Cook, knowing that his liberal policies coincide with yours. It's a safe bet. Go vote for him. Nobody's stopping you. That's how you use it if you are a liberal. For example, let's look at District 5. Senator David Nelson, who is a Democrat, 26.9% score on the Idaho Freedom Foundation scores this year. 26.9%. So it's both an F, right? They're below 60. I suppose below 60, you just can't get much worse than that. So that's how you utilize it for your own purposes, okay? If you are a liberal, right? I mean, we talk about how conservatives can use this, and this shows how conservative or liberty-minded a lawmaker is. But sometimes you turn things on their head. I don't know why liberals are so mad when they can use this Freedom Index as well. Let's see what else we have happening. Oh, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. We'll bring that up. That's our government overreach section of the show tonight. Now, let's talk about some other scores. Idaho Freedom Foundation. Again, you can download it. I have my copy here. I put some on slides just because. But 2022 Idaho Freedom Index. We have the lowest scores. We have the highest scores. I've been looking these over. This is fascinating. what we have here. Our lowest scoring this year, and I believe I'm correct when I say this. I've looked it over pretty good. I think our lowest scoring here is Representative Lauren Necochea from District 19. Out of 100 points, 18.9%. That's impressive. Let's move over to what's even more impressive. Representative Heather Scott from District 1, 100%. Highest scoring this year. The 2022 Idaho Freedom Index. Curious to see what your senator or representative scores? Well, then you just head over to the Idaho Freedom Foundation Facebook page. They have a link there. Click on that. It'll send you right to it. And then you can sit around with your friends, family, what have you, and look at these scores that the legislators have. And also, of course, there's an explanation at the beginning from Wayne just about how it works. But I am letting you know that besides getting into the bracket with Marxist Madness, you can also look at the 2022 Idaho Freedom Index. Very exciting for this Friday. So that's how you can use it if you're a liberal. Tell your friends that are liberal, if you have some, right? So let's move on to where we're at with government overreach. It's Friday. I thought, well, I'm just going to be doing a webcast for a few minutes, and thought we could talk about government overreach. I saw a crazy story here, but it's I digress. Let's find the slide. This is about Grand Teton National Park. Now, I would imagine most of the money for national parks comes from we pay our federal taxes and whatnot, and that's where it goes. Well, you're not going to believe this. Maybe you will, though, because it's 2022. Government overreach everywhere these days. Let's bring this up. Grand Teton National Park is, fortunately, reversing a plan, but it's just it's a good example of bad policy, right? Let's talk about this. So Grand Teton National Park has a plan, or had one. It's reversing the plan now. But the plan would have required portrait photographers for weddings to obtain a permit just to take wedding pictures in Grand Teton National Park. That's it. You have to get a permit to take pictures. It gets better, okay? So part of the plan is that the park would require wedding photographers who take pictures to go to one of 6 designated wedding sites. So you can't just take pictures. You have to go to a designated site. You can't take a picture by a certain tree that might have sentimental value for whoever's getting married. I don't know. They're telling you have to go to a site. And then, get this is even better. You have to remit, if you're a photographer, at least, at a minimum, 3% of your earnings to the park, which you already pay taxes to sponsor, I would imagine. Smaller weddings, this is really good, and elopements not held at designated spots would not be allowed to have a paid photographer. I could not believe this when I saw this today. I said, why? I just couldn't see really any good argument for that. And they're saying that media, nature, and professional photographers were complaining, saying federal law says the Park Service cannot require a permit for still photography. Well and good. Excellent point. But it all comes down to what really government overreach is into private business. I thought this was just a stellar example today of the government getting in where it really doesn't belong. I mean, you have to get a permit just to snap some pictures of a wedding. Slippery slope, guys. It's going to get even worse in there. So that is, my friends, the Steph Lucas Live report for this Friday evening. Quick and painless. Let me remind you again, Marxist Madness. Get in on it. We have really, really exciting first round. Now, I do know second round is coming up. Dustin Hurst is making some predictions. Second round, let's see what we've got here. Oh, okay. Key matchups, Kirby versus Furnace. Hey, you know, while I've got them here, let's just look at their freedom scores, shall we? We got a few minutes here. I'm going to find it. Okay, Kirby. I don't know where he is. Let's just find Furnace. I think he's right here. Furnace, yes. Oh, okay. Now remember, Marxist Madness, biggest statist at the Capitol. Looks like Representative Rod Furness, he could give Kirby a run for his money. Representative Rod Furness's score for this year appears to be 39.8%. That's an F. Okay. Kirby, not finding his name right off the cuff here. You're lucky, Kirby. You're a lucky guy. Could have figured out what your score is. Man. Oh, here it is. Ryan Kirby, District 9. His score is 48.8%. So, yeah, as far as state is, I'm good. Yes, let's see. I do know Rod Furness identifies as a Republican. Ryan Kirby, not sure. But 48.8% and 39.8% respectively. That's an incredible matchup. We'll see how this goes. Oh, Harris versus Bedke. Come on. Bedke's already winning at 92%. What's his Idaho Freedom Foundation 2022 Idaho Freedom Index score? I'm looking it up. I got it. I've almost got it. I believe it's 49.2%. That's an F. Okay, who else we have? Hyder versus Cheney. What's Cheney's score? Man, there's so many here. That's not in alphabetical order. I should have. Okay, well, we'll go over Cheney. So here we go. Representative Greg Cheney. Oh, he identifies as a Republican. 38.9%. Bedke has 49.8%. But here's the thing. Marxist Madness, it's a poll, of course, and you're going to get prizes that way. So I guess you can't really equate Marxist Madness and the Idaho Freedom. You can't use the Idaho Freedom Index as a cheat sheet for Marxist Madness because Bedke's winning at 92% in Marxist Madness. His Idaho Freedom score is still higher than Cheney's. Representative Greg Cheney, 38.9%. Wow, these are some pretty fantastic scores. Idaho Freedom Index. Always a lot to talk about, so go check that out. If you want to get in on Marxist Madness, you still have time to fill out that bracket. Here's the one for round 1. Biggest statist at the Idaho Capitol. Just go take a look, see what you think. It's a lot. Oh, look, there's Greg Cheney right there. All right. Well, that's it for Steph Lucas Live. I hope I covered everything happening. Again, Senate Bill 1381 hitting national news when the Senate failed to override Governor Brad Little's veto, and it's too late now. 2022 legislative session is over. They declared sine die. All done. And then what else did we talk about? Freedom Index. I want you to go and check that out. The big reveal. Lots of good numbers to keep you entertained after this legislative session. And then, of course, just an example of crazy government overreach right in our own backyard. Grand Teton National Park. Just thought that was fun for you. Food for thought tonight. Thanks so much for joining on Steph Lucas Live. Hope you have a terrific weekend. And of course, I'll be back here Wednesday. And then before I get back here, we're going to have the halftime report. So be sure to watch out for that. Thanks so much for joining tonight on Steph Lucas Live. Have a good weekend.